Hello. It's been a couple of months since the last video where we put the aquascape and the sand into the main display. House renovations got in the way of me continuing this project. I was so eager to get the water in the tank, get it started. It's been so long since I've actually had my tank with me. My old tank is still with my friend who's had it for over a year, and I have been tankless basically. So I'm really keen to get this set up. 2 months of house renovation got in the way of that, but we are back on track. I've cleared this room of all of the crap that was stored here from other rooms in the house, and we have enough space to crack on with getting this set up. Today's project is to attach the little tank here, which will be a frag tank or a project tank or a baby fish grow out tank if we breed some fish. But initially it's going to store all of the live rock that is currently in my other old tank that my friend's looking after. And that will help to stabilise the system when I ship everything, my fish, my corals and all the other stuff over to the new system. If I just dump them all into here straight away without adding the rock and the sand, they would struggle. I would have to go through a cycle process or dump a bottle of bacteria in and hope for the best. Well, I don't really want to do that. So we have a little tank here that we can put all of the live rock in. So it's a bit like doing a tank upgrade or transfer, where you just take all your stuff out of one tank, put it all into another tank. Essentially it's the same, it's just in a different box. So that's the idea. But in order to get a jump start on that, what I am going to be doing is, once I've connected this to this and we have one complete system, I'm going to be salting it, heating it, then I'm going to go and buy a fish. And I'm going to dump in a bottle of, I don't have it here, but a bottle of Dr. Tim's one and only tank starter, which is supposedly safe to dump into the tank when you add the fish without any risk to the fish's health. I've never started a tank this way, but we're going to do it that way this time. Just to, try something new, see how well it works, see if I have a good positive experience with it, or whether it turns into a disaster. At the end of the day, we are risking a fish's life, and I don't take that very lightly, but a lot of people have had great success with starting tanks this way, and it seems to be the modern way to do it. Although I haven't really set up a tank for the last 12 years, because all I've ever done is just use the tank that I've got to seed another tank and done it that way. So we're going to try that, but we need to connect this tank to this tank first, and then we can add the water. So that's today's project. And I've got a box of bits here, which has got some cement to secure the pipework at the back, the solid pipework that this will connect to. I've got some flexi pipe, Jubilee clips. I've got a tap to go on there to restrict the flow coming down into this little aquarium so that we can regulate the flow how we want it. If necessary, I do have a spare Ecotech MP10 that I can add to this little tank to aid with circulation within that system, within that part of the system. And I think we're all good to go. Luckily I've accumulated so much over the last 12 years of being obsessed with keeping reef tanks that I've got a shed full of boxes of bits that I can call on if we need any extras to get this set up. So I hope you enjoy this video. I'll try to make it as as snappy as possible, but I'm working it out as I go along, so we will see how we get on, and I will shift the camera angle, pull these tanks forward so you can get a better idea of what's going on, where all the action is happening around the back. Follow me. So I decided to spin these tanks around so I had more space to work. I wasn't trying to get in between the wall and the tank to do what I needed to do, and you get a better view, everybody's happy. So what we've got going on here is a weir box. The water from the main tank drains into the weir box, and from the weir box we can direct that water throughout the system where we want it to go. In most cases we just want it to go down into the sump, and then we have another line that brings it back up to the tank. It's a relatively simple process to just circulate the water through the system. When you add another tank to that system, there are a couple of ways you can do that. You can take, what the hell is that? You could take a pump and you could dump that in the sump, and you could feed another tank off of this pump, have it come up into there, back down, and they would be two systems that share, two tanks that share the same sump. It's simple, easy to be done. That's how I did my little refugium that sits next to my old tank. You may have seen that in a previous video. If you haven't, you can go and check them out, they're all on there. And that's how you would, that's one way that you can set it up. The other way is, if you think forward enough when you're setting the tank up, is I got a weir box that's got 3 drain lines on it. I didn't need 3 drain lines, but it turns out I can use 3 drain lines. This drain line will direct the water into this tank, and then it will drain into the sump. So the water from the main display, some of it will go down directly into the sump, and some of it will go into this tank and then into the sump, and then all of that water will go back up to the main display. So that is one way, so that's another way that you can run your another tank off of your main system. So that's how we're going to do it, because I have this available. If I didn't, that's when I would use a pump to just feed water up and drain water back down. It's so simple. All you've got to do is you've got to remember a few key things. When you turn your system off, an amount of water is going to drain down to wherever your drain lines are. So in this case, this would drain from the weir box down on the pipe into the sump. The same thing is going to happen with this, connected to the same system. This is going to drain down to below this, this outlet, so no more water can drain out. You need to just make sure you have enough capacity in your sump to cope with all that extra water if the power goes out. Because if you don't, your carpet is going to get soggy. Or you're going to ruin your nice oak flooring. And your wife is going to get well annoyed with you. And that's it, you ain't going to have no tank. She's going to tell you that's it. No more tank for you. So, beware. Sump capacity is important. Okay, so I need to connect these together with a bit of this stuff. Solvent cement. This is great because it's not just glue. It actually softens the plastic and it welds it together. So if you do it right, it's stronger than the actual plastic itself, the joints. And this is a nice new one that I picked up, because the old one I love the smell of this stuff. Is that bad? Is it bad that I like that smell? Okay. And basically, I mean, I've already checked these are nice and clean, but you can rough up the surface as well a little bit if you want. Rub a little bit of sandpaper around it and clean it to make sure it's got a bit of key. But what I will do is I'll rub a bit around there and a bit around there. Can you see that alright? Yep. Oh no, I dripped it on the floor. Oh no, it's going everywhere. That's what happens when you try and show people stuff. Hope you appreciate this. Okay. So I put a bit around the pipe and a bit on the joint. And then as I put it in, just give it a little twist. Make sure that that goes all the way around. And that guarantees a nice big seal. You see, oh, where are we? There's a little ridge that goes all the way around. When that hardens, happy days. So I'll add a little bit to the edge of this pipe here. And again, this is squeeze. Oh, push in and squeeze it, twist it. You've only got a few seconds really before that starts to go off and you won't be able to turn it anymore. But there we go. So that bit is on there, that bit's on there. Stuck on there, okay. Right, so this is the other half of the union coupler, and I can just put a bit on there. Holy moly, this is a messy one. And I can fit that onto there. These are quite a nice snug fit anyway, so once you get the glue in there, or the solvent cement, that creates quite a nice bond. So I can screw that up now. Okay, and that is that bit sealed together. You can run water through those 20 minutes after they're done. It does really dry quite quickly, and as far as I'm aware, there's no adverse effects to the lifestyle of your tank. So the next thing, why don't you stand back a bit? How about that? Is that better? Okay, can you see? So I've got a length of this, and what we're going to do with that, oh, wait a minute. Oh no, what have I done? I'll let that dry, and I will attempt to attach this tube from there to there, because that is going to take a little bit of getting over the barbed fitting that I need to attach it to. So what I'm going to do is get myself some hot water, and I can soften the pipe, and it gives it a bit more stretch. This is really thick pipe, I don't know if you can see that. It's really thick wall pipe, which makes it strong, which is great. But yeah, I will need to heat this up, give it enough stretch to get over that barbed fitting, and once that's on there, I can work out how long I want it, and I can attach it onto there. That will fit quite nicely onto there, and then I can push that right on, put a Jubilee clip on there, and that should be nice and tight. Make sure that's tight. Make sure that's tight. Right, I'm going to go get some hot water, and I'll be back. Water. Boiling water. Ah. Spit myself. Right. So basically, you just put that in there for a few minutes, or say a few minutes, 30 seconds usually does it. Put that down there. And the end goes really soft. No, squidgy, like this side, really tough. Whereas this end now, look at that, the steam coming off of it. So the idea is now, I can, there we go, I can get that onto there, and the good thing about heating it up is when it cools, oh, get on there, when it cools, it shrinks around the barbs, and it creates a very good watertight seal. Right, there you go, see? So that's on there, all the way up to the collar there, and you'd be hard pressed to get that off. Quite often what I've had to do in the past is get a scalpel and cut that off in order to release that off the bulb. Sorry, refreshments. Check. Oh, that's on there. Just So remember, with these union valves, always check that the rubber O-ring is in place. Sometimes it sticks to one side or the other and then drops out, and then when you put it back together, fill it with water. Yeah, you guessed it, it leaks everywhere. So, oh, you're annoying. I can't decide whether I want to push it right up against the other one or move it a little bit further away, so I can, I can look around all sides of the aquarium without an obstruction. So this is going to stop me from seeing below that point. Also, I want to be able to get in there and clean nicely with my magnetic glass cleaner. I want to be able to get down the side, so that's an important thing to remember when you're jamming things up against each other. How easy is it going to be to access it if you need to? Yeah, this needs to be, that's much better. See, I can get my hand all the way down there quite easily, and I can even get here if I wanted to take a photograph or something right down there. I can get in there without too much problem. Right, how much space have I got on here? So if I cut that off here, do I want to make it a bit more? Let's make it a little bit more. So if I cut this pipe off here, that should be long enough for me to attach it to that tank. So now when the water flows down here, it will travel along this pipe and it will exit out of there into this tank. And then we will drain the water out of that tank through this outlet down into the sump. So that's where this pipe comes in. And again, we're going to need to get this a little wet, heat this up a little bit. See, this is a really quick and easy way to add an additional tank to your system. So that's it, just go down there. So now, as you can see, it makes it so much easier. You heat up the pipe to attach. And I like to get the pipe on up as high as I possibly can, right up to the knuckle, where it can't go any further. Here we go. And then we just need to cut this pipe long enough so that it can pass down the sump. And what I might even do is cable tie it to this one. And that will exit, so the water coming down here will go into this tank, drain from this tank down into the sump, but it will be entering the chamber where all of this tank water is entering it. So it's not going to miss out any of the filtration process and divert back up into the other tank. So we're going to get complete filtration of all of the water. It's just going to travel through here before it gets down into the sump. It's going to go into the algae bed refugium that's going to be in the first chamber, past the skimmer, and work its way back round past the heaters and back up into the main display. Right, so how long do we want this? I reckon to there should be plenty. There we go. So we've got an end that we can put down into here, and I can just cable tie that to that one. And what that will do is that will avoid, say you've got some wires going to equipment and stuff and you pull one and it goes like that and it pulls it out, and now this starts draining out onto the floor. So it's a good idea to secure this into the sump in one way or another. So I'm thinking the best way for me to do that is to just cable tie it. 1 or 2 cable ties around there will stop that from happening. So that's it. We've got the drain line coming in and then the drain line coming out. We now have another tank connected to the system. So I'm going to spin these back around, secure everything in place, and we're ready to start filling it with water. I'm just going to add on some Jubilee clips just to make doubly sure that everything stays where it should be. These are great for securing the pipes on the outside of the tank. I would never recommend using any of these in the water. You can get plastic snap clamp clips that do the same job, but you just push them together and they're made of nylon, and there's no way they're going to rust and contaminate your water. So these are great outside the tank. I would have used the nylon ones outside the tank. I just don't seem to have any at the moment. So we've got it spun back around. This is the position it's going to be sitting in. Quite happy with where it is. Got this on this side. I am going to have a small refugium that comes from my old system over, which I'm going to stay on the other side, and that one is powered by a little pump, and that's just initially. I might use that for a little project tank. I'm not sure yet. I may remove it from the system altogether, or I may replace it with another tank that I have spare that I could drill out and add to the system. I don't know if I need to do that just yet, but the problem is that that houses a reef lobster that I've had for a very long time, and I'm not sure where I want to put him at the moment, so it may just as well that I keep that little tank. It's a little 30-litre nano tank that at the moment is my refugium on my current tank, because it's got a different configuration in the summer that doesn't allow a refugium, and we'll see how we get on with that. But for now, we're going to deal with what we've got. So that's now plumbed into the rest of the system. The water drains down and down. We've cable tied those pipes together at the back there, and that will stop that pipe from getting pulled out accidentally and leaking water on the floor. Everything I do is always what could go wrong. Every time I think about the tank and what project I'm doing and how I'm setting it up, I always think to myself, what could go wrong here? What is the potential problem? And I try to mitigate it, because no one likes to be coming into a disaster and having to clear up water off the floor. So that is about it for this video. It's a simple little project, but it was something I needed to get done in order to move to the next stage. And the next stage is filling it with water, heating the water, putting salt into the water. Once we get up to temperature and we've got the right salinity going, there's nothing to stop us from getting the cycle going on this tank and picking up a fish. So I hope you'll join me in the next video. Yeah, like, subscribe, all that crap, whatever you want to do, it's your life. If you enjoyed this video, yeah, why not follow along and see how we get on with this tank. Take it easy guys, stay safe, and I will see you next time.